This is Pedro Baez from Go for Glory Stable. Today is May 3rd, 2026, and this is the update for last week. Um, and kind of talking a little bit about what's going on in the future week. Just kind of get right into it because the Paul Kelley updates it's going to be pretty long, and then even Rob's horses are going to be pretty decent. Um, I guess stable wide, some of the things we have going on is that we keep mentioning it. So the Big Z outing at some point in June, we'll let you know when exactly. We'll work that out. It's only May 3rd, so we have some time, but we'll try to give everyone good notice on when that's going to happen. Uh, New horses in the barn. Checking out the talent arrived last week, so we've put some clips of him in the paddock up on YouTube. He's doing great. Rob's already jogging him, and he looks nice. I mean, he's a different type of down under import than Soho Skyfall was, where he Soho Skyfall was more like green, younger, inexperienced, lightly raced. Where this guy is, he's like a professional war horse. He just goes every week over there, versus tough competition. Um, so anyway, looking forward to him. So he is here and at Big Z, so he's available if you're around to see him. Um, and I guess with that being said, I'm looking down, I'm looking at the list. With that being said, hope everyone had a good Kentucky Derby. It was history made. Good price too if anyone bet that horse, and which is I'm not. We got some guys here who are way better betters than I am, and but for me particularly Kentucky Derby, I'm like I always just spread, although I didn't choose that one, but good luck, and or should I say, good job to whoever had that horse and history was made. First time female trainer won the Kentucky Derby, and that's all I'm going to say about that is just in general, that's the beauty of this game is anybody, really anybody can be big time in harness racing or horse racing in general. It's different than like real sports, like professional sports, where I don't know where we're going to see like a female head coach. We might at some point, like for football and stuff like that. But but uh but as you can see with horse racing, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So uh uh just one of the reasons why horse racing in general is just an amazing sport. So anyway, with that being said, let's jump right into the updates. So we'll do the Paul Kelley horses first. So there's a lot going on with Paul right now. There's a lot going on with Paul. So he's flying back and forth from Kentucky to Florida because he still has the babies in Florida and second chapter. Um, they're down in Florida, and then he's got Corner Store, Geologic, and Adios My Lindy up in Oak Grove in Kentucky. So he's going back and forth flying. Thankfully, the airport at Nashville, Tennessee, is not that far from oh from Oak Grove. So uh it's but yeah, still it's a lot of travel. So he's kind of all over the place right now in that regard. Talking about his horses, let's start with we'll start with the obvious ones. So we have Geologic and Adios My Lindy. They are in tomorrow at Oak Grove Racing in the eliminations for Geologics for the Oak Grove Derby, the $500,000 Oak Grove Derby, which is on the 16th, I believe, May 16th, and then the Oak Grove Oaks on, I believe, the same day as well. I think it's 300,000, I want to say. So the eliminations are $50,000 each, or $50,000 for the Colts and Geldings for Geologic, $30,000 for Adios Marlindi. We have Yannick Gingras in the bike for them, and I talked to Paul, and he said no excuses for Geologic and Adios Marlindi. Said no. He said they're ready. A lot of these horses that they're facing are basically coming off the shelf too, just like us. Meaning just coming off qualifiers. They haven't really been racing much at all. Many of these horses, I think even the 3 to 5 morning line favorite who won the Breeders' Crown, Spencer Hanover last year, was in Geologic's elimination. Same thing. He's just racing off a qualifier, same as Geologic. So uh, Paul's excited. You know we it's kind of like we don't know what's going to happen. That's the kind of like the beauty of this game, and you got to take risks. That's what this business is all about. So he said Geologic. He's in both of them. Both horses they're going to race. Paul's not going to try to like come in fourth or fifth. to try to get into the because there's consolations too. So just so you know, the top three for each elimination for let's just talk about Adios and Geologic. Top three horses make the final. So any horse that comes after that will probably go to the consolation. So which I think is like still $100,000. So it's a pretty big consolation either way. Um, so uh, with that being said, he's letting the wherever the cards fall, or what's the phrase, or a dice fall, cards fall. I can't remember the phrase. He's just letting it be, meaning Geologic and Adios, they're racing to win, and if they make the final, we're going to be in the final. If they don't make the final, we're going to be in the consolation. So that's big time. That's on Monday. That's our um, first stakes races of the year. There's going to be you'll see on the April statements when we do it in May, so in a couple of weeks, you'll see that we have some entry fees. I think it's like $1,500, something like that. So there are entry fees with stakes races like usual. But you'll see that that's all part of the stakes racing. So those are those two horses. Just trying to think of anything. Geologic, Paul was very happy with both qualifiers. He was very happy with both qualifiers for um for Geologic. He told the driver just really don't do anything. Paul didn't want to be on the lead, but just how it went. The driver said Joey Putnam. He said the horse just kind of left the gate, so he didn't want to stop him. He just kind of let Geologic fly off the gate. So that's what happened. That's why he was on the lead. But then he pulled him back, and he just kind of walked the whole way. So, but he finished great. You know, it's kind of country down there, like rural harness racing. Even though the purses are awesome, it's like for the qualifiers, usually in like Meadowlands and stuff, you have proofs. You actually have programs and proofs on the wall, so the drivers can see what horse they're driving, kind of see the past performance, stuff like that. They don't have that in Oak Grove, so the driver didn't even know what Geologic was. He just said to Paul, he was just like, I'm assuming this is a good horse," and then Paul just said, "Yeah." He just like, "Yeah, he's a good horse. Just take care of him." Um, so I don't think he didn't even. That just goes to show they don't even know like some of these drivers don't even know what they're driving in the qualifiers because they don't really tell you down there in Oak Grove. Um, anyway, both qualified great. Both are in good shape. And Adios, she closed up really well in her qualifier, like 56 and change. So Paul was happy with that. Um, she's probably better off going to a consolation versus the final. So let's just, yeah, which means she just has to come in fourth, fifth, sixth, maybe even less than that, because there's more fillies. So they potentially might have two consolations. So, which is there's like a second tier one that goes for like 100 grand. There's like a third one that goes for like 50 grand, something like that. Something like that. Don't quote me exactly, but there's two consolations if there's enough horses. I think the fillies there are enough horses for two consolations. Um, Maybe. And then we'll see what they do. And then Geologic, there's not that many horses, so I'm not sure if they're gonna have two constellations. So they might just have that one for like 100 grand. So um anyway, so that's the story with those two horses. Ready to roll, and we don't know we don't know what to expect, kind of. This is a mystery. We're taking a leap I say leap of faith and a risk to see what we got here, but that's how it is. So you'll see that even time to time with the overnights. We'll take a chance somewhere just to kind of see if a horse is ready to step up to the competition. Sometimes they do. That's great. Like Invictus is doing right now at Meadowlands. It's been amazing to watch. And then sometimes they battle a little bit. I'm like, all right, well, maybe that was a little too tough. We'll scale it back. So anyway, that's what's going on with Paul with those two. Um, Second chapter, we'll stick to the older horses. Second chapter, so Paul trained him in 211 in Florida, and he still was hanging on the left shaft of the sulky or the jog cart when he was training him. And the horse went really fast. 211 is not, I don't want to say really fast. I mean, but it's pretty quick, especially it's very quick in a jog cart. And the horse is powerful and wants to go, but he's just not he's still not um he's still not able to be in the real race because he's not the way he's trotting. It's just not square at all. um he's he you could tell, like I said, Paul said he's got the right attitude. He wants to go, he wants to do it, and he's got the power. He's fit, he's been jogging, he's been training, so he's in great shape, but it's just something physical is holding him back. So Paul doesn't think so. The EPM is off the list. So Paul does not think it's EPM because he's been getting EPM medication now, and the new medication, the old medication for like what, probably a month and a half, 2 months now. So it's not that. Um, they have so the next thing that Paul did was the vet started blocking. So pretty much blocking. What that means is it's basically like a painkiller, and they'll inject the painkiller into like a certain joint or area. And the idea is when you inject the painkiller in that area, Paul will then trot, will then train, train that horse in front of or go a lap in front of the vet, and then see if there's any difference. So like in the second chapter's case, he got his ankle, his right hind ankle blocked, and a few days ago, and Paul went around really quickly with him, and he still was kind of doing the same thing. So that's that's off the list. So this is all like trial and error of trainers trying to find out where a horse is hurting because the horse is not going to tell you where it's hurting. So the ankle is off the list. It's not that. So Paul thinks it's a stifle, which is higher up, and but we'll see. So the way it works is the vet kind of works his way up from the ankle, up slowly up through through the whole leg, and that's what's going on kind of throughout the week. So the next the next thing is I believe will be the stifle next. I'm not sure if or if the vet's just going to kind of keep moving up, but that's where they're at. Where um they now the vet and Paul are blocking his right hind leg just to see where he's he might be he might be in pain to see what's bugging him. So more to come. It's not really a long process to do. It just takes like, one day he's got to do this part. All right, next day he's got to do this part. All right, next day he's got to do this. So it's just kind of like repetitive and this is why Paul was hoping the EPM medication did it versus doing this. But, it is what it is. We're on to the next step of trying to find where he's hurting. Um, um, so that's the next step for second chapter. All right, let's go to the babies with Paul. The babies, they have been pretty much just jogging. They're going to be jogging pretty much from now until the 7th. So second chapter and the babies on the 7th this week. So Thursday 7th, they're going to get onto a, a truck and they're heading up to Saratoga to Paul's farm in Saratoga, and then about they're just going to hang out there and they get turned out, which is fine. They're way ahead of schedule anyway, because in Florida, basically had no time off for the babies. It wasn't like up here in the Northeast where you had all these freezing days and snow and stuff. And down there, it's been pretty much immaculate all winter. So they're really ahead of schedule. So they're gonna keep jogging up until basically Thursday morning, and then after that, they're gonna get on the truck and head to Saratoga for Paul's farm and just hang out there for about a week, 10 days, something like that, while Paul's finishing up in Oak Grove and Kentucky. And then Paul's also got to get ready Vernon Downs because Paul has all these stalls and everything at Vernon Downs, so he's got to get those prepared before he can take the horses up to Vernon Downs. So that's what I mean. That is right now it's a little bit crazy right now for Paul between going back and forth and then got to go to Vernon, get Vernon together. So it's just a little hectic time right now, but that's kind of how it is. So that's kind of what and he's used to it. So but the babies, they've been I think 211, 212, all of them, and then that's the plan with them. So just jogging, and then they'll resume back, training miles back in Vernon Downs some point in probably mid-May, and you know, at that point they've already been in like 211, so they won't really need to go much. It won't really take that much longer for them to get into qualifying shape. And as far as where they'll race, yeah, Paul's, for I think they're all PA breds, Pennsylvania breds, so they'll probably do Stallions series and probably just start just to kind of see what they are, and then obviously if they're showing that they're more than Stallions, like a Sire Stakes, Pennsylvania Sire Stakes, then he'll do that. But that's kind of getting ahead. Right now, we're focusing on the month of May and everything. So. Um, so that's and the other thing with the babies is Scene Lindy. So so let's get into some specifics. So Scene Lindy, um, she she she's been in 213, and she's the one that was like a little bit chubbier when she first got down there, but she's since lost weight, and so she's actually been Paul said you can't even tell the difference between all the babies. They're all doing really well and doing it, beautiful gait and stuff like that. Same with Seeing Lindy. The only thing with her is recently, and I think I mentioned in the last video, she recently, when Paul trained her, he wasn't liking her left, the way she was kind of moving on her left side, her left hind, and the vet looked at her and it looks like what she's going through right now is her left hind ankle, so her left back ankle is going through a little bone remodeling. So basically, in a nutshell, she has a bone bruise in her back left ankle, hind ankle, which is normal. It happens. It's just like the impact and the concussion of hitting the track. Not it doesn't happen obviously to every single horse, but sometimes it happens for whatever reason. It might happen to certain horses. We had that last year with Minehunter. He had a bone bruise, but then we gave him all the time off, all the treatment, and it came back great from it. It came back awesome. So she's dealing with something similar. So the vet always recommends like 90 days of turnout and stuff like that, and then resume training. So Paul's looking at more like probably like 60 days, which is similar to what even Rob did with Minehunter. So she's got to get a little backed off right now. So she's going to be turned out for the next probably 60, 70 days or so. And she's got a treatment already, I think in April. I think we'll see it in April or May. Um, Osphos, which is medication to help horses with their bones, to help the bones grow. So we gave that to a lot of our horses, My Hunter, Skybox, trying to think of anybody else. I think who had bone type things. Um, uh, I'm losing my train of second chapter. I think got it. So uh, so that's what's going on with her. So she just the bills are going to be cheap. You'll see the Seen Lindy owners. You'll see the bills will be cheap now for the next 60, 70 days because she should just be turned out. But the goal is that she can make. She'll be. The goal is the 60 to 70 days will give her enough time to train back for Massachusetts Sire Stakes, which is in September and October. So that's the goal for Seen Lindy is she's getting turned out in the paddock for the next 60, 70 days. The goal is to train her back to qualify her at some point in August or early September, and then she'll be to target her for Massachusetts Sire Stakes September and October. So that's Seen Lindy, and this is normal. You know what she's dealing with is a normal thing that young horses deal with, especially as they're growing and their bones are still growing and things like that. So it's very normal. It's just something we got to just deal with and handle. It could have been, there's a lot worse things out there than just having a bone bruise and needing time for it to just heal. All right, so that's Seeing Lindy. So hang in there for Seeing Lindy. It's just part of owning babies. Um, Coach Brooks, he had the left front knee that was a little bit sore a month ago, I want to say 3, 4 weeks ago. And Paul Paul trained him yesterday for the first time in like 3 or 4 weeks, just like in 225 or 235. It wasn't crazy fast. It wasn't like 211, 213. Um, and but he was good. So Paul liked him. So Paul said the rest that he gave. Remember when we said we backed him off, meaning he wasn't training, he was just jogging, and he was sleeping all the time because his legs, his body must be going through a growth spurt or something. Um, so he got trained, and Paul said he felt good. He said he felt good. So meaning he's going to be back. He's back to work pretty much. He's going to be back on a training schedule. Once they get back, right? Like I said, they're still jogging right now, pretty much now and Thursday, but Coach Brooks is back to business as far as training, because Paul he thinks that he's whatever he was dealing with that left front knee seems to be past him. Now that he got a little bit of time to just rest and let it develop and grow. Um, all right, that's Coach Brooks. I think I covered all the horses with Paul. I think so. All right, so let's move on. That was a big one. That's why I told you I want to get this thing rolling. So next, that's the Paul Kelley horses. And yes, that is it. All right. Next up on the list is the Rob Harmon horses. We're gonna do Rob Harmon babies first, just to knock those out. Beetlejuice, Blue Chip, Seven Seagrams, and Solar Queen. They went in 218 this last week, so it's a very big milestone. They broke the 220 barrier, and 218 and a half is pretty serious business. Usually we say like 210 when they're at 210, it's like they're pretty much ready to qualify. So 218, we're getting pretty close. They all did it well. No issues to note. And, right now we're just, like I said, just taking it week by week. And, we're just going to hope that things kind of stay a little boring and they keep moving along. But that was a big milestone. So, like I say all the time with the babies, May is big time. May's big time because May is when they really start going um, to qualifying speed. To get training down and you get put it. So they're in a jog cart right now, but not very long from now, they're going to be going into a bike, a race bike. And when you go to a race bike, horses will go way faster because the jog cart is like really heavy. It's really more made for like comfort and stuff for the trainer, and has weight for the horse to get stronger. But race bikes are like the opposite. They're like really skinny, really lightweight, really skinny, and the horses can go way faster with them. So we're not there yet. They've schooled, so all three of them have schooled behind the gate. Um, Paws as well. They've all schooled behind a starting gate, and so they know kind of how to get their nose on the gate. And so we're getting into crunch time here. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and things keep moving along. All right, let's go to the next one. Beaueastel. We're gonna start with Beaueastel. Uh, okay. Here we go. All right, let's do. He raced yesterday, and it was just a tough race. I mean, I saw it once the draw came out. Um, like Bronzer, these are some nice horses in here. Um, it's taking a while to come up. But Purple Lord, the 5 horse, the horse who won this race. We're the 4 horse here with Mike Merton. And by the way, Mike, this gate, this, so Mike Merton said he said I don't know what was going on with that starting cars. I don't know if you. Let me just show you what he's talking about. There was only one horse on the gate. The 5, I think. I think the 1 is kind of close, but look, even the 5 was there was almost no horses on the gate. So that starting car was he basically eh, he basically gave it all to the 5, who was like the only one even remotely close to the gate. But yeah, so in other words, Mike Merton was not intending to be so far off the gate like that. It wasn't like he just went in here saying, "Oh, I'm coming off the pace." No, he just nobody was on the gate. Even the 5 wasn't even on the gate when that the starting car went. So anyway, he's sitting fifth here. Mike Merton said he was good. And by the way, that Purple Lord horse was racing in the Open last year with Enola. So that's an open horse. That's an Tioga Open trotter that somehow fits here. And that Bronzer horse is a bona fide Yonkers condition horse and the higher end Meadowlands horse. So those 2 horses are really really good. That 3 horse who you'll see kind of quits. He's a Saratoga Open trotter. So these are like ridiculously good horses that somehow fit this race. And this race, which non-winners 8,000, went faster than non-winners 10,000 yesterday at Tioga. It was just a weird thing how it went like that. So anyway, we're following that 3. At first I was kind of like, why is he following that 3? But then when I pulled up the three's numbers, like I said, he's a Saratoga Open trotter. So you would expect that 3 to hang there a little longer, but he didn't. I think he starts backing up at some point, and then the 6 just takes our spot, and then I think that eventually was what cost us 4th place because the 6 just took our spot, and then the 3 backs up in our face, and then we got to go 3 wide around it. In hindsight, maybe could have gone in. So I don't want to pick and choose here. It was just a difficult race, and then difficult trip on top of that, difficult start. So um, he finished well. Uh, and like I said, these 2 horses up top are really good. Even that horse that came in third is not bad either. And that 6 Boss Blue Chip was in the Open last year at Tioga, so the 6 is no slouch either. Um, it just it just it just didn't work out yesterday, and the race went at 55 and 2. Like I said, the fastest trot of the day, even though it wasn't the highest level race. And we got a check. So that was one of those things where I even going in, I was just like, I just want to get a check and then kind of live to fight another day. And that's the key. You know, don't get too crazy when we're not coming in first and second. The goal is first and second every race, but the goal if we don't get first and second, we want to get a check. We want to get third, fourth, fifth. We want to get a check. So you don't want to leave empty-handed. So we got it. We'll move on. We'll see what the next step is with him. But the good thing about Boisto is that his performance yesterday was actually sneaky good, meaning it was actually comparable to the non-winners 10,000, which is a level up horses. It's one of those things where when I first saw it, I was kind of like, oh man, I mean, I was kind of bummed out. But then when saw how he did compared to every other trotter that day at Tioga, he actually was pretty good. And that's what we've been seeing. He's actually been coming along pretty nicely. Maybe it's the warm weather. I don't know. But he's actually start to show some pop, the pop that we've been looking for. Oh, and Rob did tell Mike Merton, this horse can leave. So next time, I don't think we're going to be so far off the gate. I think next time we're going to leave and try to get towards the front like usual. Hopefully, we don't get parked, but it would be nice if we can sit either on the lead or sit in second or third instead of fifth. All right, that's Beaueastel. Let's move on to the next one. Checking out the talent. Checking out talent arrived on Wednesday, Thursday or Wednesday this past week, Wednesday or Thursday, can't recall. He's doing great. We put some videos up on YouTube. Um, he's like in incredible shape. So the plan now, if all goes well, 6 weeks from Thursday, or let's just say Thursday the 30th. So 6 weeks from then. So we'll say some point in the mid June, he should qualify, assuming all goes well. And he's like he's a beautiful horse. Like he's got two white feet in the back. Um, he looks like he's not tall. Like he's not like a really tall horse. I think Soho Skyfall might be taller than him, but he's like built like a brick house. He's like jacked. And especially like his rump. He's just jacked beyond belief. And and we're looking forward to him. He's a different type of horse than Soho. When we got Soho Skyfall, he was more of like and he was racing at like the B tracks over there in Australia, like the non-winners of so many races. So he was with like inexperienced horses, and he did well. He did really well when he came over here. He killed it actually. This horse is different. He was racing with the better, just like I don't want to say open, but the better top level conditioned pacers over there every week, and he was doing really well versus them. So it's completely different type of horses. And this horse is a little older, but he's more battle proven, war proven, racing every week, versus very difficult horses. Whereas Soho was racing not as often in Australia and then like versus lesser competition. And then, so different types of horses, but looking forward to him. Looking forward to him a lot. He's beautiful. And want to see, very curious to see what we got and how he trains down and everything. So he's there. Shares available if you're interested. All right, next one, Enola. She's nothing to know. Enola, she's doing fine. She's doing great. She just didn't get in last week. The Open didn't fill for Tioga, so she's back in on Tuesday for the Open again. We're just trying again. Was trying again for Tioga. A week break doesn't hurt her. So she's been rocking and rolling since the winter. So for whom the bell tolls. For whom the bell tolls. She is racing on Monday, uh, Monday the 11th. So that's her debut. I'm sorry, Monday the 11th. I was a little Monday the 4th tomorrow. So she's debuting at Plain Ridge. She got the 8 posts. We'll just see what how things go. Um, got a lot of 7 and 8 posts these days, but you can't control that. So I'm looking forward to that. That's her debut, 3-year-old season debut. Um, Gretzky the Great. Gretzky the Great is he's doing well. So he's been swimming. So he's been doing 2 trips, meaning 2 swimming sessions. If anyone remembers Mindhunter swimming, it's like it's a lot. Those horses swim for a while. They're incredible how they can how long they can do that. They're in great shape, obviously. So he's been swimming 2 trips twice a week, and he's doing well. And the plan is, Rob said he's still, right now he's still on track to qualify, hopefully in the next, few weeks or some point in May. So he's still on track. He's gonna get his leg ultrasounded at some point either this week or next week just to kind of see where it's at. And then the plan is he's not really gonna. I think Rob's just gonna do one qualifier and maybe 1 or 2 training trips on just to want to avoid as much impact as possible with him. Just that's why we're swimming him so much. And then, then he's ready to roll. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. The next couple of weeks are like really big for Gretzky to get him back. So that's the plan with him. So far so good. And we're gonna do Invictus next. So Invictus is up next. He raced last night. Um, and He was the favorite from the 8 hole, and that's when when I saw that I was. By the way, I fell asleep, so I woke up to and I watched the replay at nighttime, and um, I talked to Rob about it, and even Scott Zero, and I'm sure will tell you that he probably should have left harder than he did to get to the front. Even if he had to be parked out for that whole first turn, it's coming from basically last to try to win this race was it's going to be difficult. We saw it with Braxton Boyd the first time he raced Invictus, where he was sitting sixth on the rail, and then went first over from sixth, and it was just way too much. Same thing here. So the only difference here is that in this case, Invictus was incredible because he not only never saw a pylon, he still actually ends up getting fourth in this race after all. So after all is said and done, he still somehow gets fourth. So it just goes to show you how sharp he is right now. It's just like I said, his only thing, he just doesn't have the gate speed. So it takes him a while. You gotta like the driver has to really get into him, and it might take the whole first quarter to get to the front when you get the outside like that. So. Um, So that's Invictus. Yeah, I wish he had the gate speed, but that's kind of like his only real, setback. Outside of that, I mean, we paid $20,000 for this horse, and he's way outperforming that. Um, he's a 4-year-old, and he's really coming into his own. Like these are these are these aren't 3 and 4-year-olds. Some of them might be, but these are like war horses that he's doing this with. So there he is. He never saw a pylon. He's sitting behind the six the whole entire way, and the six was, I think, the second favorite or something like that. So six wasn't a bad horse at all. And we're still there. Scotty Z is kind of getting into him a little bit. Invictus, he's kind of like, wow, this was a long grind. But that six that we were following, he ends up second. So it wasn't. Yeah, would I have liked a different to be up front? Yeah, but I'm sure the six would have as well. But he followed Dexter Dunn. He followed the six, who was a good horse, who ended up third or second or whatever he ended up. And it just, we got fourth. So I'm just gonna take it. We turn the page, move on to next week. He'll be back at Meadowlands on Saturday night next week. So, but the horse is good. The horse is racing great. That's the most important thing. All right, just Rose's luck. Just Rose's luck. She is in to go tomorrow, and she raced last week, and she had an incredible race. An incredible race. Probably her breakout. This was her breakout race of 2026. There she is. It's kind of blurry right now, but there she is, the six horse. And I fully expected that we weren't going to be leaving just because we had the favorite was inside of us with the five. Um, and I just didn't think we were going to be leaving here. Um, And I'm trying to think, is this the race where the five gets parked out? I think so. I think so. Yeah, this is the race where the five got parked out by, by, gets parked out the entire mile. Um, and that actually was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. So the five was 3-5 shot odds on favorite. We were, I think 7-2 or something like that, sitting over here six. And this is the Mike Merton. Once he saw, this is why he's so good. Once he saw that the five was parked out the whole time, he made a power move and said, "Hold, I want to be sitting right behind that five because that five should be able to last at least 3/4 of a mile." And he got right around that four. He didn't, you see, he didn't let that four come out. That four tried to go behind the five. Mike Merton said, "No way." The three just stayed there. He knew better. And then that's what the best drivers do. That's what the best drivers do. He said, "No, no, no. I'm going to go right behind that five. That five is he's parked out the whole mile. Not a good, it's a good horse, but that's too much to overcome to try to win a race parked out." And that won that 50-1. He held, what is this? 56-1. That first half, you don't really see 56-1 too much at Monticello. They just don't really, the horses just don't really go that fast. But there she is. Here's Mike Merton making a big three wide move. And this is like a work of art. This was like beautiful. This is beautiful. This is when I was watching this, I was like, oh man, this just hold up here. Let's just, I don't count my eggs until they hatch. But like this is what you want. Like if as an owner, when you see a race like this, you're like, man, that it just makes owning so much fun. Like this is like, yeah, that's how I like to win. You know, drawing off 6 lengths. She did it so not easy, but she did it so good. She's just a very game tough race mare, 55-3, excellent. And she's just all I gotta say is good job to all the owners who just stayed the course. She had her. We were telling you like when she was drawing bad or in really tough, like just hang in there. She was sick. She missed a month during the winter. Just hang in there. She's a good mare, and she's showing it. She's showing everybody that she's good. Like I said, I don't think I'm not saying she's an open pacer, open mare pacer, but she's excellent. She's very solid. So anyway, she's in to go tomorrow. She had the 7 posts. We'll see what happens. Mike Murray's probably gonna work a little magic. So all right, so that's uh just Rose's luck. Memento Mori. I don't believe he raced last week. Just double check. Last week. Last week we did that on the 26th, 27. He no, he oh yes, no, he did not race. So he's in to go. Um, he's in to go. What is this? He's in to go uh tomorrow at Saratoga. He's got a tag of 31,000. So we paid 26,000 for him. So if if someone wants to claim him for 31,000, he's available, but I don't think they would. But but this is like super soft field, and actually they might claim him, but we'll see. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully we can see what kind of how he is there. But this is a really soft level compared to what he was dealing with at Yonkers. So there's massive class relief, and he's just a tricky horse because he doesn't really have a lot of gate speed, and he hasn't really been as consistent as we want him to be. He's shown like some really good flashes, and he's shown like some other races where you're like, oh man, I was hoping you did a little better than that, but we'll see. Hopefully, change of scenery, way easier races. We can. Yeah, very curious to see how he looks. So anyway, that's Memento Mori. Uh, he's in tomorrow at Saratoga. Got the 7 posts. We get drawing sevens all day, every day. It seems like 7 and 8s. My Hunter, my Hunter raced on. He's another horse I can't draw, and he doesn't draw inside anymore. Um, he last drew, so it's 8, 6, 5, 5, 6. So he's drawn 5 to 8, um, 5 races in a row now, all in a half mile. And he's the horse that doesn't have a big, um, he doesn't have a big, uh, gate speed, so that hurts him. Man, at Yonkers, he got. It's almost like he's allergic at Yonkers to inside draws. Goodness gracious. Anyway, so here's his race. Not even sure if I want to. Well, I'll show it only because his back half was excellent. He was the 6 horse. I think we got Danny DeBay here. Jim Marone picked on the 7, who actually was the winner, so he picked the right horse. Um, and Danny DeBay, just so anyone doesn't know, Daniel DeBay, he's a professional harness driver. He drove and he's been driving in big races in his entire career. Um, so he's excellent. He hasn't been driving as much at Yonkers. Um, the past few years, he was actually big with like when Rene Allard was had a big barn. He was like Rene Allard's Yonkers driver, so he was getting a lot of power every single night. But he's just kind of hanging back, it seems, and he's training now and stuff. But he's still excellent at driving. So anyway, there he is sitting 7th. Um, you know, you're sitting 7th. You're sitting 7th on a half mile. It doesn't. You're gonna need a miracle, an absolute miracle to win that race. And the fact that there's zero movement, they're in. They're just once I that 7. I was hoping the 7 kept trying to go to the front, and maybe there was like a crazy speed duel to get to the lead. But no, he found a spot. Jimmy Marone found the spot. He tucked right in third immediately, and that's to me. Once I saw that, it was over. So I was kind of like, meaning it's over for us to. It's going to be very difficult to win when there's no movement up front. 56-3 first half, it's pretty tough. But with this group, I was really, especially if we're going to be sitting 7th, I was hoping to see maybe a 55. Really burn. They're really burning each other out, 55. But no, 56-3 for this group is not that bad, especially now that it's getting warmer out. So there's Danny DeBay. He's just scooting up the rail over there, which was the right move because I think the 4 starts backing up. So it was the right move. Um, Split second decision, so I'm not going to get on drivers, but yeah, he's shooting up the rail and he actually closed really great. So it just it just stinks that we don't. that he wasn't able to be sitting up closer to do this. He had to be, all the way back like that. So he closed great. I mean, the chart, I almost don't even believe it. They charted him with like a 54 and 2 back half, which it's like almost hard to believe because that's like ridiculously good. But 52 and 4. I think he went 53 and change. Mindhunter, he's racing excellent. It's just he's just getting they're killing him with these draws, and he's got the 7 draw again. So that was 6. He had the 6 post there, but he's sitting seventh at the half. Now he's got the 7 draw. So he's just getting destroyed. These are good races that he could win. He could no doubt about win if he's sitting one. If he has a 1-2-4 post, but it's like we went through it with Soho Skyfall. So it's at Monticello for like 6 weeks. It's brutal. So he's racing on Tuesday. Um, right now, tentatively, the plan though is we might race him on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, instead of dropping him back in for Yonkers, we might take a shot at Tioga on the 5th, on the 10th, May 10th. Um, hopefully he would fit pretty low and just kind of pop in there and see what he can do. For what he's doing at Yonkers, if he goes to Mindhunter, if he goes to Tioga, he would definitely be one of the favorites, no matter what post he has. Anyway, so that's Mindhunter. He's racing great, healthy, sound. He's just a victim of luck right now. All right, let's move on to the next horses and Ship's Revenge. So Ship's Revenge got she's was let know later last week that she's still this is normal. She's still not showing signs of being in heat or cycling. So meaning she doesn't have the eggs in her body to create embryo and to create a foal. So it's normal. So basically this whole winter and this spring especially it's just been crazy. We'll wake up one day it's 30 degrees still. We're like, how is it still 30 degrees? So it's just hang in there. It's normal. I was actually talking to Paul about it, Paul Kelley, and he immediately he immediately was like, "Oh, she'll get it in fall in May." And I was like, "Well, why do you say May?" And he talks to Steve Jones a lot, who runs Cameo Hill Farms, and Steve always says that most yearlings, if you look at most yearlings, they're almost all born in like April, sometimes May, meaning the mares, the brood mares, are bred in like May, May, early June. And especially with maidens. So if you got a brood mare who's had 2 or 3 babies and she kind of knows the whole deal, the whole process, yeah, you might be able to trick her because horses usually breed in the spring, when it gets warm out. They don't breed in winter, in February, March. It's when it's freezing out and stuff and the days are short. So, but the brood mares, the older brood mares, you can kind of trick them into like, all right, it's time to breed, even though it's not, with like lighting and things like that, making it seem like the days are longer, like, as if spring is coming. But with the maidens, sometimes, and we're seeing it with Ship's Revenge, it's since they don't even know what's going on, you can't really trick them because they don't really know what's going on. They just know it's cold still. So, but but Steve Jones, I'm not speaking for him. I'm just talking based on my conversation with Paul and what Paul's conversations with him, in the past in general, is that just hang in there. What happens is once it gets warm, once you start getting like a couple of days and you start stacking days together of like warm days, um, and long days, it'll happen quickly. So meaning the mares, even the maidens, it'll happen quickly where all of a sudden they're in heat and they're cycling, they're ready to go. It's just nature. Maybe it's just nature. Once the horses see the bees and the flowers and the plants and the birds start flying around, and it's almost like nature where kicks in where they're like, all right, it's time to breed. So we just gotta hang in there, and there's also medication we can use to help with that process, but we'll see. So the next step is for her to be rechecked, probably towards the end of probably like mid-May, so like 13th, 14th, 15th, around there. Check her, see if she's ready to be bred. So that's Ship's Revenge. All right, and last but not least, we got uh Uncle Rat. Uncle Rat is racing tomorrow at Saratoga. He also has a 7 post again. We just got a lot of bad posts. Just gotta hang in there, everyone. It's not gonna be forever, and we'll see how he goes. He was really good last time there, so I'm actually curious, very curious to see how he goes. So, all right. With that being said, Um, Good luck everyone with your horses this week, and have a good day. Take care. Thank you.